healing hands. My name is Shelniel Bostic and I'm a massage therapist. And for today's episode, we are going to cover the anterior and posterior draping for the upper, middle, and lower part of the body. All right, the reason why I've got into this particular form of draping was there was one point that had happened to me in my earlier part of my career, actually in the first year of my career. I was working in a spa in Calgary, and I had a male client on my table, and as I was doing my work, this client was trying to wiggle out of my draping, and which didn't make me feel very comfortable, and I was having a moment, but I handled it professionally all the same. So after the client left, I talked to one of my senior massage therapists at that location to see how I could cinch up and tighten up my draping so that both anyone who's on my table or from my standpoint as a therapist looking at the table and the client, that we both felt safe and secure. My draping style feels literally like you're being tucked into a nice lovely little cocoon, not too tight, not too loose, but the client knows where the beginning and ending material has been tapped into place, and there's no worry or wondering, is there too much space? Why am I feeling this breeze? Can we see something? There's none of that. And that's why I created this particular routine. It literally took me 3+ years to create it, and I've been running with it and tweaking it ever since. So hopefully you'll find parts and value in either the parts or the bigger segments, depending on what your specific need is, and have fun with it. Thank you. All right, let's get into this draping. So let's start from the bottom. Actually, what I'm going to do first is general rule of flow around massage table. The hand closest to the client's head controls upper region, and the farthest hand for the lowest portion of that draping. Place a finger on or near the core cord process to keep materials pinned down, while bringing material towards ribcage, armpit, without uncovering the chest of your client. Clients with ample breast tissue gently pull up on the material down from the armpit towards client's head for more security. This action will contain these tissues below this draping line more tightly. Lower body, best to move the top blanket up into an accordion fold across the pelvis to get it out of the way. Additional note, with extra material over this area, it is not easy to see if a male client is aroused due to relaxation, thus keeping everyone feeling comfortable. At this point, once I've gotten the material tapped in from both from underneath the posterior superior iliac spine, and then after I've placed in, either brought the material out and then just put it underneath pretty much approximately the gluteal fold. Those are the 2 points that place this draping into its proper alignment, and the client knows exactly where the material is so that they will not have any issues with feeling secure or having an indirect breeze flow through. And once you've moved the arm out of the way the draping was at the beginning, you can actually do a variety of techniques which will allow for greater access to at least the early part of the pecs, or going into underneath the scapula, or as well as going through the rest of the arm and hands if you need to. There are a few exceptions when doing the draping for the setup for females, or in relationship to males, or there is just a couple other spots for just making it more comfortable, but I will cover that in a separate segment. Hi. Just as we start back at the top, I've already made sure that there is access to getting to at least the top part of the clavicle and the pecs as well. So we can actually do a bit of techniques through that region, go through the anterior, middle, and posterior deltoids. We'll obviously have full range of the neck going through, and also the scalp. Pretty much you've got free reign for this area. And then once I'm done, I'll just pull out the sides of the draping and then just bring it up towards the client and tuck it underneath, so that they are actually having a little more security, as well as it keeps the material from being pulled down when I'm starting to work on the lower part of the body. Stop. And let's continue with the posterior draping, shall we? Blanket up in an accordion fold across the gluteal muscles with folded edge towards the gluteal fold to get it out of the way. Slide some of the flat sheet under the body, almost wanting to reach towards the belly button and above the as is, closer to the sides of the body as an anchor point. Once you've got the posterior draping done for the leg, it's a good idea to have the material at least underneath the gluteal fold when you're draping it in from the lateral side. Then I sweep it underneath about 3 to 5 inches above the knee. So that's the second tap spot. And the third tap spot is on the opposite knee. So there is no room for air to come through. There's also, it is a clean drape that nobody can see anything. Even if I happen to have a room full of people watching, they won't notice anything that's not supposed to be. Undo leg draping. Pull on material from the second knee. Bring linen back towards the midline of the first knee. Then recover both the legs. Locate the edges of the top blanket to slide it back down towards feet. Mid-body, gather linen between 2 or 4 inches folded, depending upon if client is wearing underwear. Yes, tuck the linen into underwear up to 2 inches under their waistband for a secure seal. No, create a 4-inch fold which acts as a waistband. Hold in place while bringing down material from the neck, shoulders into alignment with this created band line. Create 2 wings in a curl tuck on both sides of the body to slide them above the as is for these anchor points. Undo the arm upper body draping. Pick up the client's arm with 2 hands at or near the wrist and elbow to prevent grabbing and accidentally setting off a client's anxiety. Recover flat sheet over the hand and wrist. Repeat on the second arm and bring down the linen towards back of head, shoulders, along with the blanket. Alright, once I've tapped in the material at the top part of the shoulders, I actually will be able to get a chance to go through the gluteal muscles through the sheets, which will work really wonderfully, and especially when you don't want to, well, it's more like depending on if the therapist feels comfortable going through just bare skin, or if they feel more comfortable depending on the techniques to go through the material. So you can either tap in it at the shoulders, or you can tap the material underneath one side diagonally, so just above the as is, and then just below the about mid-thigh, and then you can move the material over enough so that you can actually have access to that diagonal. Or there is another version of draping that can be just having the material just draped, at least placed in like underneath the as is or above the as is, and then just that's your anchor points, which allows you to go through the gluteal muscles and as well as the posterior thighs without the material unraveling at either spot, especially if you tap it in a way that it actually is almost like, as I mentioned previously, the little karate chop that you're aiming towards the belly button, so that way literally it will not come undone no matter how much jostling of the material that you do. Depending on the hair of the client, if they're really fairly long, or at least longer than shoulder length and whatever variation thereof, you can either, if their hair isn't too congested or too curly, you could just split it and then either move the hair on left and right side of the head and then just twirl as much as you can and tap it into the face cradle cover. If you happen to have a towel, you can actually just not bother with the splitting of the hair in the middle of the back and just have the material twist around the hair and then bring it around the head and then tap the ends in the left and right side of the face, which will also keep the long hair out of your way, especially if the client doesn't have a hair tie. That will be very helpful. Until next time, this is Shelniel Bostic with Healing Hands. See you next episode.